يسعدني في هذا اليوم اول شيء اعرفكم نفسي، انا اسمي محمد ابو عفيفه، انا الامين العام لنقابه المهندسين الاردنيين. يسعدني اليوم اني ارحب فيكم في هذا النشاط العلمي اللي بتقيمه نقابه المهندسين الاردنيين بالتعاون مع شركه نبيه عزام والمعهد البريطاني لحساب الكميات او رويال انستيتيوت تشارتر سيرفيرز في بريطانيا. حقيقه احنا تعاوننا مع شركه نبيه عزام كان على الدوام تعاون مثمر وفاعل، هدفه تطوير قطاع الانشاءات في الاردن. احنا بنعرف اليوم انه عندنا عدد المهندسين الاردنيين بيزيد عن 160 الف مهندس ومهندسه بنسبه كبيره لعدد السكان. هذا الامر بيرتب علينا جميعا مسؤوليه، المسؤوليه اللي بتكون اساسها انه رفع البار اوف انجينيرنج وزياده القدره التنافسيه للمهندسين الاردنيين. لاجل هذا الموضوع احنا بنحاول قدر الامكان ندخل مجالات ومساحات اضافيه من التعليم الهندسي المستمر. لذلك النقابه بادرت الى مجموعه من الاتفاقيات والتعاونات، ابرزها الاتحاد الدولي للمهندسين الاستشاريين فيدك. اليوم في عندنا دورات في مجال العقود والفيدك مع الاتحاد الدولي للمهندسين الاستشاريين فيدك، دورات في مجال الفاليو انجينيرنج، والان بنحكي على موضوع مهم جدا اللي هو الافكتيف نيغوشيشن سكيلز ان كونستراكشن. طبعا انتم بتعرفوا انه قضيه النيغوشيشنز هي مهاره حياتيه او سوفت سكيل، لكن بالتاكيد لها امتدادات بحيث تغطي نشاطات اخرى مثل تو بي مور سبيسيفيك في موضوع الكونستراكشن والامور المتعلقه بقطاع الانشاءات. انا يسعدني اليوم اني اقدم لكم السيد جبير بن شميتة من الامارات العربيه المتحده. سبق انه كان معنا موجود في مؤتمر الفاليو انجينيرنج اند بروفيشنال انتمنتي اللي صار بعمان قبل فتره، والحقيقه انه وجود معنا عمان وبثري العمل بشكل كبير بخبرته الواسعه في سوق الانشاءات في الامارات العربيه المتحده، وانتم بتعرفوا هذا السوق يعتبر من اهم الاسواق اذا لم يكن اهمها في مجال الانشاءات، سواء كانت في مجال الكونستراكشن او الكونسلتنج. واحنا اليوم عمالنا بنعطي هذه المحاضره اللي هي في موضوع الافكتيف نيغوشيشن سكيلز ان كونستراكشن، وبتامل تكون ذات فائده للجميع. طبعا انا بعرف بعض اللي موجود هون غير متحدثين بالعربيه. I would like on behalf of Jordan Engineers Association to welcome you all in this lecture that is dedicated to negotiation skills in construction. On behalf of Jordan Engineers Association, Nabih Azam Associates and the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors. Today, Jordan Engineers Association is trying to do its best in order to raise the bar of engineering and to increase the competitiveness of Jordanian engineers. For that reason, we have made a lot of agreements and alliances with so many local, global and regional associations, including RICS, FIDIC, and so many others in order to raise the bar of engineering here in Jordan. On behalf of Jordan Engineers Association, Nabih Azam Associates, I would like to welcome Mr. Engineer Jubair Shmiti from United Arab Emirates, if you allow me for that, for this lecture about effective negotiation skills in construction. Mr. Jubair, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Please.
Without mic? My voice is better than, So everybody can hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
First, I would like to thank the organizers, the Jordanian Engineers Association, for inviting me again in Jordan. I'm really grateful to be part of them and to share my knowledge. As I have mentioned to Nabi Azam, I am over 60 now. The only thing is to make sadaqah. I don't have mal, I don't have amal, because 60 the amal is not there. But alhamdulillah, there is an ilm and sadaqat al-ilm, so I'll try to share my ilm. Whatever required, I will do so. And I hope in case there is any gaps, you'll forgive me, because it's quite exhaustive. I came from Aqaba to give a lecture, and I just arrived to be morning, but I'll do my best to give as much as I can in reference to negotiations. Very nice.
No, if you can turn it off.
Switch on.
Okay.
No, he doesn't.
What is negotiation? It is a skill which every engineer has to have it. It's in FIDIC, it's in the conditions of contract, where it's one of the tier in the negotiation of a dispute, right? Can you agree with me? So it is important that you know how to negotiate, because when it comes to negotiation, you should know how to negotiate. And maybe you will not like to reach in the dispute, but sometimes you have to reach a dispute in order to get your rights. And not necessarily that you negotiate because there is a dispute, but you negotiate also during the site execution, right? QS, you want to push your price, you want to push your issue, you want to push your disagreement. I was just talking to the Centragious people that sometimes there is an argument, there is a thinking between two parties. So you want to negotiate with them to push your thinking. And sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes there's a compromise that, you know. So this is the style of negotiation. There is no fighting, but you need to convince. Now, what is negotiation? The word negotiation means it's a compromise. Sometimes you need to compromise, right? And sometimes you need to cooperate. And sometimes you need to give a concession. You need to give up. And sometimes you need to take, you need to give, and then you need to take. And sometimes you navigate. You cannot agree him now, but you navigate him, and when you reach certain stage, you agree with him. And sometimes you need to influence. So all these are negotiations. So you cannot say negotiation is a fight. No, it can be a compromise, give and take. You, you influence, and sometimes you cooperate, you compromise. So this, you have to put this thinking that this is the negotiation. So simple, if I give you the negotiation, it's a process of communication. All this compromise and everything, it's a communication, all right, between the two or more parties to reach an agreement. So when you negotiate, literally, you need to reach an agreement, right? So, and also, it's an art of reaching an agreement in order to resolve the differences between. Sometimes it's not because you need something from him, but sometimes you have a dispute with him. So you need to reach somewhere. So you need to influence. So in order to influence, there is an art of influence. You know, you cannot just influence somebody. You have to have an art. You should have a tactics. Now, about negotiations, we negotiate, it's a fact of life. You negotiate everywhere, and I'm sure in the house, in the shops, in everywhere, right? You do negotiation. And simple, what you are doing, all right, you are bargaining either price, all right? You need to arrive to an acceptable, comfortable terms and conditions, because sometimes you are negotiating for conditions. Sorry, the engineer, you are not right to give me this amount. You are not right to decide this material. You are not right to do the interpretation. So you do some in a negotiation to come to a comfortable, because if you agree with the engineer's interpretation, there will be something wrong with you. It will be too costly, or maybe it's something impossible to do. So sometimes you need to negotiate to arrive to an acceptable position, or maybe there's an ambiguity. So you need to negotiate to reach that stage of a level where you will be comfortable to proceed with it. Or sometimes there's a difference. Sorry, you are seeing day, I'm seeing night. Let us negotiate and compromise on how to proceed. Because sorry, I'm myopia, you are seeing blue, I'm seeing green. But who have myopia, you or me? So we have to negotiate in order to come and see who have got myopia, in order to correct it and agree way forward, right? And sometimes it's a compromise. okay, you pay 5, I pay 3, I'm Maskin, you are Tajir, so there is a compromise, all right? You negotiate because I cannot do anything. I have only 5 dirham or 5 dinar. What can you do? You chop my head, I have 5. Either take me or not, you know? And sometimes you compromise because you have a taxi and you know when you go far, you are not going to get a passenger, all right? So you tell him, okay, come. Because you know that better to have 3 than 5, right? So that sometimes you compromise. And this is everywhere in construction. From day one, sometimes you compromise. Particularly when you are having a contractor, he cannot do it. So you as an engineer to have a hikmah to compromise with him. Because there is no way, you cannot bring another contractor to come and do the job. So you have to compromise. You negotiate in a compromise method. So as I said, compromise in industry and construction is everywhere, every time. And I'll be giving you an example when I have been negotiating, from tendering, from consultant negotiating with the client for his fees, consultant negotiating with the contractor for agreeing on something, compromise, contractor negotiating with the client during tender, and on and on. All right, and some negotiations are simple, some are complicated, and we will go through it in order to prepare for you. How do you plan your negotiations? And can you go back there, please? Yeah. And sometimes, which is mostly common, all right, it's an amicable settlement. So sometimes you go to court, you start fighting, and then you realize why we are fighting. Just come and settle. There is no natija for us to continue. Who is winning is the lawyers. You know, they have champagne, we go to jail. So let us settle it and let us be friendly, you know. So there is a tactics also in order to do an amicable settlement, particularly when everybody is hard, you know, during court. Or maybe sometimes everybody realizes now why we should fight. All right, and this has happened. When a man and wife fights, it's hard, but after some time they sit down and settle amicably, right? I'm not going to give you that style of negotiation. I'm not experienced on that, but I will give you an experience in construction. Yeah. Now, what is the product of negotiation? For sure, there should be a human interaction, right? You cannot negotiate he's outside the room and I'm inside and we negotiate. No, there should be a human interaction. And of course, there should be an understanding. When you negotiate, you find somebody, you are talking with him as if you are talking on the wall. So what is the use of negotiation? So there is an understanding between the two parties. And of course, the most important thing is personality. When you negotiate, you should have a personality. You should not go and negotiate. You are going as if, no, you should have a personality in negotiation. You should put your position, and we will talk about the position, about the issue of position. And another important issue, knowledge. You are going to negotiate for what? What is the knowledge of the issue you are going to negotiate? So you should know in and out of what you are going to negotiate. If it is a contract, you should be aware of the conditions of contract. If a specification, you should be aware of the specification. And if you are negotiating on numbers, you should be very familiar on how these numbers are being run or being originated. And then in the power, when you go to negotiate, you tell them, okay, can you agree with me? Wait, give me 5 minutes. You go on. No, you cannot go in negotiation without having the power to negotiate. So in the negotiation, you should make sure when you go to the negotiation, you go to your subordinates, or to go to your management, and they give you a power to negotiate. Of course, sometimes you are not given 100%, but you are given a target. You said, okay, you go to negotiate, reach this target, proceed. If you don't reach this target, you have a problem, you have to come back and get directions, and then you proceed with the negotiation. But you cannot go in the negotiation, you don't have any power. And another thing also is the language. You cannot go when there is a Chinese and you are an Arab. So there should be a common language in negotiation, an understanding, to risk what you call, I hate to negotiate with Chinese. I've negotiated it twice, and literally, it's a book about Chinese negotiation. Somebody comes, he pretends he doesn't know English, and there is an interpretation, all right? And simple, it's very difficult to negotiate with such type of people. And Chinese have got this type. You would see a Chinese there, and he's the chief negotiator, and he pretends he doesn't see it. He doesn't know your language, and you have to say, he makes interpretation, and it becomes a very difficult. So the good thing of negotiation that there should be an understanding of it. Now, what is the objective of negotiation? The objective of negotiation is to inspire somebody to agree on what you want, right? Otherwise, if you are going for a negotiation and you cannot inspire somebody to do what, why you're going for negotiation? You like to convince doctor to do something which he doesn't want to do it. That's just negotiation, all right? You go to somebody and you tell him, see, gentlemen, I want you to spend this much instead of this much, which he doesn't want to spend, or a client doesn't want to pay. So you want to convince him to pay. Now, what are these tactics? Which is very important. You should know your tactics of negotiation. One of the tactics is a respect. A respect is one way of convincing somebody. Somebody is a very respected person. He comes and tells you, can you pay this amount? You feel able to say no, and you pay him immediately. So sometimes respect is a very good tool in negotiation, but not everywhere it works, right? Sometimes there's a fear and threat. Sometimes you have to threat a contractor. He said, if you don't agree, you will never be in my list as a contractor. So that is a threat. It's like when you negotiate with your child. Sometimes you slap him twice. Never do it again. So that is one of the negotiations. All right? You don't say, Habibi, Ya Allah, Dad. You know, you slap him 5 times and he comes immediately. So one is the threat. All right? It's a negotiation. All right? Okay? So sometimes we do a threat to a consultant, we do a threat to a contractor, all right, in order to achieve your negotiation. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. So it's not only a way of threatening you negotiate. And sometimes it's by emotion, you cry. Wallahi mind, all right? So it's an emotion. And then you say, okay, habibi, you know, so, so it's an emotion. And sometimes it happens. And you go there, you bring a supplier, you try to have an emotion, you have a we call it crocodile's tears, you make it all, you sing, you dance dabka and everything, you bring an emotion, and you get yours, and then you convince him to do it. So this is one of the styles, and it is being used in construction. I've been using it, all right? And emotions. But you look at the person, if really feel emotion. There are some people, you dance and everything, just look at you. After dancing, you come and say, okay, Baba, this is my price. So not everywhere you can use this emotion. And sometimes it's bargaining, which is common. And I had particular ladies that are very good in bargaining. My wife is a very good bargainer, all right? And I get trained by her, all right? You bargain, all right? You say, la, I'm not going. 1 dirham I'm not paying. Okay, another 1 dirham. Okay, but for you only 10. Okay? So it's called bargaining. All right? It's bargaining. It's like buying a fish. All right? I don't know here if you bargain like in Dubai. All right? There's a lot of bargaining when you go to sing. You start with 100 dirham and you end up paying only 10 dirham. Okay? And sometimes it's by compromise. So as I said, you compromise. There is a time where let us compromise. Okay, I know you cannot do this one, but you do half and I do half. I do 20, you do 30. And this is normal in construction, in everywhere, and every time there is a compromise. Sometimes you have to do Okay. In any negotiation, it has to be effective. You don't go in a negotiation, threat somebody and it doesn't work. What end it will be is just breaking, everybody goes apart. Or you do a motion, you dance and you finish, you get exhausted, nothing happens. So it has to be effective. When you choose your way of negotiation, it has to be effective. You should know when I'm going to negotiate with doctor, this is the way tools I'm going to do. But also, you should check, not every time you go to doctor and dance, he will give you money. No, sometimes you don't. Maybe she doesn't have it. All right? And this is what I used to do it when you want money from your mom, you know exactly what time and how to ask, right? How to negotiate with your mom to give you something. Or you want to go out, so you try and go and work and try to, help him, help her. And I say, Mom, can I go somewhere in the night? Sometimes you get, sometimes you don't get, because it depends on her mood. All right, so also the negotiation is the same way in construction. Not everything which you did it yesterday, you will get it today. Not the way you negotiated with this contractor, you will be able to negotiate with this contractor. Not even with the same contractor, he comes with this tender, you negotiate with him, let him comes, because here he was hungry, he can eat anything, a bread in the dustbin he will eat. But when he came here, his stomach is full, you give him a bread in the dustbin, he will not eat it. All right? So also this is the style of negotiations, it has to be effective. And one of the factors of negotiation is strategies. Now, we will talk today only on strategy. Although there is a preparation and planning, and there is a first skills of how to negotiate between the parties, but today we will be talking only on strategies. Now, what is a strategy? And a strategy is an overall plan for negotiation, for conducting the negotiation. Can you go back again? First, you have to have a plan. You should have a style. You should have an objective and an approach. Now, there are 5 styles of the negotiations. Can you push it? Okay. 5 styles of negotiation. First, there's a quadrant. If you go to the XX, this is concern of the other party interest. And this is your interest. Now, if your interest is low, you are going to a negotiation where interest is low, and the other party, his interest is low. So what you have to do? So this is called an avoidance. You don't need, you just avoid. You don't need to proceed, because he has no interest, neither me have an interest. And this sometimes it happens in the construction, particularly for the consultant. All right, he comes and negotiates with the client. He has no interest. Why? I just came for the purpose of coming. I don't like this client. He doesn't pay on time. He has mashakil, small thing. He will make it big. And also I said, this consultant, poor Bakala style. I don't like to work with him. So both two I have no interest. And why? What negotiation will? So simple is to avoid. However, sometimes a contractor, he is negotiating 100,000. Both two said, Wallahi, I'm going to spend all my time to go to a contractor and negotiate for him 100,000. It's a 1 billion project, and I'm going to 100,000 dirham. Then what you get? Okay, what you want, take whatever you can get. All right. So in this quadrant, sometimes is 100 dirham. Okay, I have 100,000. Okay, contractor, how much you can pay? Okay, go on. I am not interested. Because nobody is interested. It's too small. I don't need to spend time. Why should I do my thinking, strategy, and everything for an amount of 100,000? And simple. I don't mind. I lose, you lose. Yalla. You need 100,000. Okay, we agreed 50-50. You lose 50. I lose 50. Because there's no time to ask or no interest at all. Sometimes I have a very high interest. Sorry, he has a very high interest, but my concern and interest is very low. The other party have got very big interest. I don't have an interest, you know. So your interest is very low, and his interest is very high. So what you should do, it means you are building friendship. You are trying to, what you call, to build friendship. You try, wallahi, I know you very well, you know, I know your mother, I know your father, you know, let us do business, you know, when you were small, I used to, you know. So you try to create this friendshipness in order to have a better understanding. And then sometimes it happened that, okay, you win and I lose. And sometimes it happened because, let's say example, there is a very high profile person, he wants to build a boundary wall, and you cannot say no. And you are having an interest of that. They have an interest of it because maybe there is a future work. There is something where you will generate from it. So you don't mind you lose and he wins. So sometimes there is a quadrant where you need to be accommodating. You accommodating, although you are losing, but you accommodate. All right? And sometimes this is a way of negotiation. You go to negotiation where you don't have that power to negotiate. You need to be more accommodating. And then you have a quadrant of blue, all right, that you are the winner, and this is sometimes the client when the contractors are hungry of work. All right, so I'm always a winner, and they are always a loser. So a contractor, when he comes to negotiate with me, when he is hungry, so he is in the blue quadrant. So I'm always a winner, and he is a loser. So there is a lot of competition. I can come to Baba. If you are not ready to compromise, there's other people 100 waiting. So when you go in there, you should know the way of how to negotiate. And then there is a red quadrant, which is a win-win situation. It's a very collaborative. We enjoy negotiating. And this is the place where I will advise everybody to try to negotiate in this quadrant. This is a quadrant where everybody is fair and everybody is reasonable. It's a friendly collaboration, all right? Partnership, solving a problem. And if you look at it, this quadrant, who will be the lion? Can you tell me? In this quadrant, the contractor is the lion. You mistreat him now, tomorrow, he will put all the claims and everything. Because what you did, you grabbed whatever you could take, because he was hungry. So you took a chance of him pushing him a lot. In here, if you go in, literally, nobody is interested. Everybody's saying, I'm taking this job. So when you go to compromise there, be careful, because project will not be successful. There is a likelihood of project not being successful. This quadrant is a lot of disputes. This quadrant also, there is a likelihood of dispute, but sometimes can be a compromise. This is the best quadrant to work. And then there's a fifth quadrant, is because it happens, you have to do a compromise, and you try to see, you see, I win some and you win some, I lose some, and you know. So it's a compromise between the four quadrants. So when you go to negotiate, try to see what are your quadrant which you are going to negotiate. Now, during the negotiation, there are sometimes irrational tendencies when you negotiate, which arise. First, the consultant is expecting a lot of money to be deducted from the contractor. So, unrealistic expectation, right? The consultant comes in and he comes and say, I have deducted this work and you have to pay me 1 million dinars. which is unrealistic, and you find it, oh my goodness, how did he calculate for that? Now, sometimes it happens. And sometimes there is an underconfidence that your contractor, you are very unconfident, Allah, this engineer, if I do any difficulties in negotiations, he will create a problem. Although you have a right, but you are underconfident. And sometimes you are overconfident. Say, no problem, this engineer, I can crush him. He knows nothing, he's just a big mouth and sometimes you become overconfident. And then sometimes escalation of commitments. And what is the meaning of escalation of commitments is we human beings are in a very hurry to close the negotiation. And sometimes you close it wrongly. This has happened that when you have a boss, which you say, don't bring me any problems in the site. You close everything. Don't, I want all the variation to be closed in 1 week. Now, what you will do, so sometimes you compromise on things which you are not supposed to compromise. And this has happened. And you will see that the engineer is escalating of the commitments that I need to close these variations, I need to close all these issues because otherwise it's the end of the year, I have to do it. And sometimes you find a issue that you have compromise on things which you are not supposed to compromise. And then sometimes it's framing. What is framing? When you do a negotiation, I go into a negotiation, I'm building a house, in my mind, I have negotiated last one, is this much square meter rate. So I'm going to negotiate, I have already framed in my mind, I have to achieve that rate. But actually you are wrong. Maybe, example, in the hotel, that was a 5 stars, and this is a 4 stars. Or maybe this is a 5 stars plus, this is 5 stars minus. Or maybe the area where you are building is more complicated, logistic problem than this one. So sometimes the framing is also irrational. You are going in a negotiation with the wrong framing in your mind. You have not done your homework. You have just put that, yes, I built this hotel by this much per room, and I'm going to build this restaurant. But you have not realized that that hotel has got a logistic problems, there are complications, there are. So also, these are part of the irrational issues which when you go to negotiation, you should be careful with. Now, how do you combat, how do you avoid these irrational issues? You don't want to go to negotiation, particularly when for contractors or consultants, when they go to negotiate with a client, or when the client goes to negotiate, to come up with irrational issues, all right, which I have stated. Now, first of the most important thing is for you to have your best alternative to negotiate agreement. What this means, that you should know what is your minimum amount of negotiations or terms which you will not compromise. These are minimum, take it or leave it. When you go to negotiation, you should know it, and you should, if you are representing your company, you should also agree with your management on these terms, that you cannot lower this. You cannot agree with the contractor an advance payment without bank guarantee. There is no way. Okay, we might agree on the percentage, but there is no way that we are going to agree with you on the payment without bank guarantee, because it's risky. Same as a contractor, you will not be able to agree, see, gentlemen, payment will be after 6 months. You should say, no, my minimum terms is payment within 30 days. So you should put it in your mind. So when you go to negotiation, if this issue comes, you know what is your partner. You will not go below those elements. Clear? So everybody understood what is a partner. This is very important. In anything, sometimes it's easy to create a partner, sometimes it's a complication, but you have to create your partner. Because you cannot go negotiation, you don't know what is your partner. Then there is a what you call likelihood that you will negotiate something and you go back to the management and say, what? You agreed to give the contractor advance payment without a bank guarantee? What will happen? You will lose your job. And if you are a contractor, you go back to management and say, I've got the job and the payment terms is 6 months payment. They say, what? Who will pay for this cash flow? Did you check your financial terms? Did you check your financial, cash flow? No, I didn't. Then how did you agree on 6 months? Who will pay the interest and everything? You lost your job because you did not look at your partner on all an element of the finance. Then we have a reservation price. What is this? All right. This is example. You are a contractor. You have put your price. Let's say 100 million dinar. And by way in here, you realize the second lowest is around 80. Right? And you have been called to negotiate. And you know your second lowest is 80. Is not 99, is 80. So you put your price, although your partner maybe can be 80, but you will not put 80 because why should I go 80 when the second lowest is 80? So you will put your reservation price higher than your partner. He said, see, this client cannot go to the second lowest, and this second lowest cannot match my price. So I will not go to 80. I know I can do the work and my partner is 80, but I'll put 85. You got my point? Or sometimes you as a supplier or you as a contractor, you know you did the structure and you are negotiating to finish the work, and you know there is an issue of liability. The contractor, whoever comes to do the job, he has to pay for the liability, right? The structure, there is a liability. And there is a 20 million dirham extra for liability. So you play with this reservation price. You're gonna, so you have to do your homework to see what is your reservation price. Example, there is an extension of the project, all right? And you did the other project, and you knew that there is a chiller from Carrier, all right? So you know that there is no way he can use another brand. He has to use the same chiller because of maintenance, because of cost. So you know your reservation price. You know you will not go to your partner. You will put your reservation higher than partner, because this is how you should negotiate, because you know this client has no other alternative. But you have to be careful, I'm saying. Not every time you will be able to win, but you have to do a lot of homework. But I'm just explaining you, sometimes when you go to a negotiation, you create your reservation. Not the lowest minimum, what the partner, but there's a reservation. And also, sometimes you know your reservation, you know your partner, you know your the circumstances, you put a target. You say, I'm going to negotiate this one, my target, and actually this target normally is given by the management. Your target is to achieve this much. I go to negotiations, I get a target by the management. Although my budget is my partner, as a developer, what is my partner is my feasibility price, right? When I do my feasibility, I put a budget, right? And I get approval from the management. So that is my partner. I cannot go below that one. The management will throw me out. However, when I go to negotiation, I put my reservation price. I look at the contractor. This contractor is hungry. He needs the job. So I put my reservation price. Of course, it will be lesser than my budget. And sometimes when I put a target, I look at the the results of the tender. I said, oh my goodness, such a wonderful result. So I put my target. You got my point? Did you understand what I mean? The partner is what my
feasibility studies was done as a developer. Reservation is what I have looked at it and I said, I think I can get this price because I'm doing a repetitive job, all right? And then